Welcome back. Making flexible rubber moulds is rather simple. Just using a synthesized latex rubber and brushing it on the figurine that we've made. Now, a couple of things I'd like you to notice. The first one is this flange going right around the base of the mould. That is very important, and I'll explain why. When we peel this completed rubber latex mould off the figurine, off the pattern, it needs to be supported somehow so that we can pour the plaster of Paris into the mould. Another thing you might notice is that the heads of these two people are actually touching. Now, making the mould, it would be simpler if they were apart because the mould would just peel off. But I intend to have them actually touching when I cast them, which means when I take the plasticine out of the completed mould, I'll just get a scalpel and very carefully cut down there so that when we've cast it in the plaster of Paris, it will just peel off. Now you'll see that the pattern has been completely covered in the latex rubber, and I'm just checking now that all the little nooks and crannies have been completely coated with the latex, and I'll let this cure probably about 3 or 4 hours, and then it'll be right to get another coat on. I'd encourage you not to put it in front of the heater. It'll speed up the drying process, but the chances are that where there's a fair bit of latex, such as in there for example, that won't cure properly. It'll cure on the surface because it's been hastened with the heater, and inside of it will be uncured latex. And then we go to work the mould, it could fracture, and all this uncured latex, which hasn't any strength or any flexibility at all, will just come oozing out. So brush the first layer all the way over, including this flange that will be used to support the mould when we're casting it, and just check that there's enough latex completely covering the mould. Now you can see the latex has completely covered the two figurines and comes out around the edge here, just as I explained earlier. We're ready now to peel it off. This has had 4 coats, but the latex, being fairly cold, is quite thick and it built up in quite good layers. So what I'm going to do now is just first of all coat it with some talc powder. The reason we do this is that the latex, even though it's cured, is quite sticky on the surface, and as I start to peel it back, if this sticky surface, it could in fact bond to the other part of the mould. So to prevent that from happening, we've just got some talc powder here that we fairly generously put all over it. You're probably tempted to just blow that. Not a good idea, especially it just becomes airborne particles, and guess where it goes once it becomes airborne? Goes up your nostrils and your lungs. Not a good idea. So we just put it all here, and there we go. Now the first step is start around the edges here, start to lift it off the base. Now you'll see we're actually going to peel this rubber latex mould off, and it'll finish up being inside out, separating it off the baseboard, then starting to peel it carefully up the side. Doesn't matter if the figurines come off. Notice the way I'm just peeling it off carefully, and then finally very carefully. Now while the mould is inside out, we'll put some talc in here too. Here we have a complete rubber latex mould ready to go ahead now and do the casting. The next video will show you how we prepare this mould ready to put the casting plaster in.